All right, everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to the live stream. This morning is January the 12th. We're here for a New York AM session. I want to welcome back all the subscribers and to everyone who's seen the live stream before. Also, I want to welcome in all the uh, new, uh, all the new traders to our live stream today who's never visited before, has been either referred to us or saw YouTube advertised that we have a live streaming channel and they're here for the first time. I want to welcome you here. We'll give everyone just a few minutes more just to arrive before we get into the top-down analysis and get settled in before the opening bell. So again, welcome everyone to the live stream. We'll get started in just a minute or two. Rainmaker, good morning. Good morning, Rainmaker. We're going to have a top-down analysis in just a minute. Right, let me go ahead and pull up the US dollar. Okay, we've had an interesting week for the dollar. After last Friday produced a pretty much a doji with a large range above and below the candle body. We've spent this entire week, which was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now here we are Friday, still within the range, not trading above or below. And so essentially not changing its long-term position. And since this is the daily, we've seen the dollar just consolidate all week after what happened last Friday. At some point, it will break this cycle and break out and either sweep highs or sweep lows. But so far it hasn't. And we can see where yesterday's high and low is. Right? It's closer to the low. But to reach the high, we do see there's some fair value gap, bearish fair value gaps up above that would likely hold price or at least be a barrier to price pushing up easily. So let me drop down to the hour, see if there's anything that we can see in there that may be a PD array that comes up soon for the dollar. right? So this New York high is yesterday's. Today's New York values don't come out until 10. That's the settings I have for my indicator. So if you see New York, it's referring to yesterday's prices, whereas London and Asia is the overnight prices. Yeah. So we can see we're already below the new day opening gap here, pushing towards the midnight values. So what I'm looking for the dollar to do is to push lower into this fair value gap down to the Asia and London low. And then once it gets down there, then we'll see how price reacts there. And the Asia London values, the Asia low was at 10 p.m. yesterday, and the London low was at 3 o'clock this morning. All right, so I'm bearish for the dollar right now. Move over and take a peek at ES. All right, ES also is inside of its daily range from yesterday. But it's moving bullish, which is the opposite of what we see the dollar doing, is according to expectations. So up next is the high from 2 days ago, which was eclipsed yesterday but rejected. And so up next is that value at 48.28, and then the previous day high is 48.38, which would be targets, and then of course the yearly high at 48.41. Right on the hourly, we have a nice fair value gap being created, and we won't know if it's actually this size until the end of the hour. So we'll keep monitoring that. We are trading above the new day opening gap now, so that may hold price up in this area. The London high has been taken recently during this hour, and again, up next would be yesterday's high, and then the all-time high for the year so far. Just want to take a peek at the 15-minute and see if there's anything to note. Of course, we have the fair value gaps it could trade into. Basically had equal highs for the London high, which was just swept. So we need to pay attention. And now we've had a liquidity sweep above. Whether we see price start to reject and trade back down, that's where we could get this fair value gap, or even the larger one with the midnight open, to find support for higher prices. Right. And then in Q, check out the daily on this one as well. All right, just like all the others, still trading in between yesterday's range. However, is bullish, just like we saw with the ES. And ES bullish is our expectation based on what we saw in the dollar earlier. So we saw a fair value gap that was created here yesterday. I think this is a 15-minute. Well, we'll see it when we get down to that time frame. But we do see price pushing towards the previous day high. And that's what we expect. So that's on the daily. Let's get down to the 4-hour. We saw price trade into this 4-hour fair value gap, and we saw it reject out and push upwards. And so, so we confirm our bullish sentiment. More fair value gaps here to support price. The midnight open is at 16,945. So we'll keep that value in mind. That's right, also near the new day opening gap. So as we're trading today, if we see price return to any of these key levels, we would expect to see a bounce there. So we're going to look to see if we get a bullish reaction, if we get retracement, because so far we've seen the Asia high and the London high already swept. We see price now pushing towards previous day high, which is at 17,057. Right, and then as we get down to the 15-minute, yep. So we have the same thing that we had in ES, with the equal highs being swept just recently. So with the opening bell coming, we want to see how the opening bell reacts to what's going on in price now after having a level swept. If we see price start to retrace back into the area, looking for higher prices later. If it retraces, I would pay special attention to the midnight open, this fair value gap, and lastly the 8:30 open. Let me go ahead and just put a measurement on this for now as of where we are right now. Yep. So the midnight open would be below 50% down in discount, which is a good thing. And also the fair value gap here is in that optimal trade entry level. All right, so let me get down to the chart that we'll actually be trading on today. Let me just leave it here at the 15-minute. Actually, I'll leave it at the 5 actually. There we go with those key levels marked on it. We could see a midnight open provided some support for price back at 845. And also as we look into the opening bell here, just want to review this morning's 8:30 news. We had core PPI and PPI month over month. Released this morning at 8:30. Expectations forecast was 0.2 on the core PPI. It came in at 0, so no growth there. And it was 0.1% of growth month over month expected, and it actually was a contraction of 0.1%. So let's go back and look and see how that impacted price at 8:30, and then see what I guess come up with what we think it's going to do for the rest of the day. Here we saw price push up, and remember CPI, PPI, all those metrics impacts the dollar. So it impacted the dollar negatively, which sent commodities in a bullish manner with lots of energy. And so we saw a big push up above the midnight open, a retrace back, retesting the zone, and now we see it pushing out. So like I said, if we do see the opening bell push down, we're going to look at the midnight open and this zone down here, this fair value gap, as a key level to support price and send it higher. With that being said, we got 90 seconds until the opening bell. And so again, I want to welcome everyone to the channel this morning. Welcome back all the subscribers, and also to anyone new discovering us for the first time. It's good to have you. And yeah, let's have a good session. Thanks, guys. Right, Rainmaker, Vivian, Chuck, Jeremiah, after Dustin. Good morning, everybody. And we have a newcomer, Laurent. Welcome. Good morning. Rid of some of these markings from yesterday. Okay, Quebec City. All right, welcome to the live stream. What's your trading strategy, or how long have you been at it? Hey, man, good morning. Welcome back. Okay. No worries. No worries. All right. I'm glad you chose to hang out with us. Hopefully you find it a good experience. And if you have any questions, just throw it in the chat and we'll see if we can answer it for you. For just a quick second, I'm going to show my screen here with the comparison between the dollar and the other two indices. All right, and we can see how for the last 2 hours, the dollar has been seeking these relative equal lows down here. Right, also the lows of the previous day. Right, and then we see the opposite happening in the center. We have the Dow Jones. And then, and then to the right, we have the S&P. So we can see that they are moving in opposite directions. We can see what the 8:30 news did to the dollar. It sent it lower. The dollar was pushing towards higher prices. And as soon as the news was released, it dropped significantly. And we see it following this hour as well, seeking out these lows down at 102.16-ish. Um, the Dow is pushing towards the 38,000 level, which was its overnight highs. See what the high of yesterday was. Okay, that actually wasn't the high of yesterday, but it was, or actually, well, yeah, it was. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. It was London session on yesterday created the high for the Dow, and it's pushing for that at 38,038. And then we have the same thing happening with the S&P seeking out 4838 as its high from yesterday. So we'll see if they can reach their highs and the dollar low respectively as we're looking at price this morning. And so I'm going to switch back over to our normal NQ, but I wanted to show you this comparison since I'm always talking about this, and I do occasionally show it, but it's just hard to show multiple screens. But I wanted to throw this up there. Right, and for NQ, the previous day high is the 17,057. Yeah, let me drop this fib just so it's a little less busy. Okay, and since we've already taken out the Asia high, London high, Asia low, London low, I'm going to remove them for now. We'll bring them back after 10 o'clock when we have New York high and low to peek at. But for now, just wanted to make the screen as clean as I can make it. So we still have the midnight and 8:30 markings. We have our fair value gaps, and then we have up top our previous day high. Yeah, it seems like we had a uneventful opening bell this morning, but it's okay. It happens. All right, just checking on progress here. So the dollar has reached the previous day low. It's already breached that level now. Okay, the Dow it got pretty close, but then it started to pull back a little bit. So it still needs to make a bit more progress to get there. S&P needs 3 more points, so it's really close as well. So it looks like NQ is the trailer this morning. Everyone else is out leading. The dollar's already accomplished its target, and the other two indices, the Dow and S&P, are pretty close. So let's see if NQ pushes to catch up, or if it just trails behind this morning. Yeah, laughter. Laughter, you're right. Absolutely. Oh, laughter. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing our live stream on other platforms. I've shared it on my Twitter a few times, but I don't have a big following on Twitter, so it's not really being viewed by many people. Crude oil is rising. Great. Did anyone take the opening bell long for the previous day high as a target? All right, looks like the Dow is still pulling back a little bit without reaching yesterday's high. So I wonder if it's waiting for NQ to catch up before taking a high, so all the indices can do it together. The dollar, even though it's reached its low from yesterday, it's continuing to push lower. Way to be disciplined, Vivian. That's exactly what you want to do. If just because you see a setup, if it doesn't meet your criteria, that means it's not your setup. It's for someone else. The reason why I didn't take it is just because I don't like jumping in at the top. So I would have liked to have seen a retracement, specifically to a key level, meaning the midnight open. That didn't occur. But let's look and see if maybe we had one of the other like session highs as where it bounced from. All right, so we had equal highs on London. That was then taken out before the opening bell. And the opening bell, there we go. So that's what happened. So the opening bell came back down, retested the London high, and sprung off of it. I would have liked the midnight open price, but and mainly because I like to enter and discount, so I want to give myself some range to expand, and getting in at the top without a retracement, it minimizes your expansion range. So yeah, so for me, I would have liked the midnight open. It would have been below 50% down in discount, and then I could have taken an entry. Um, so that's how I like to do it. But Vivian, I know you said 10 o'clock. I don't like to enter before 10 o'clock either. Just being honest with you. That was one of the reasons why I used to start my live stream at 10 o'clock up until last week when we started at 9:15. Oh, CEO, good morning. Welcome back. Okay, buying the euro. Yeah, the dollar and euro do generally move opposite directions. All right, DJ, welcome. Yes, and for me too, Vivian. Also, I noticed that when I was starting at 10 o'clock, I wasn't myself fully prepared to enter a trade. And so sometimes there's a nice setup in the first 5 minutes at 10 o'clock. And so I noticed that we were missing those setups too often. So I think 9:15 is an excellent start time. Um, but myself, just like yourself, I'm just not used to taking entries prior to 10 o'clock. Um, but if I'm going to be ready at 10 o'clock to take a trade, I definitely need to be at the charts doing my analysis and settle down prior to. So yeah, 9:15 is good for me as well. All right. Looks like we have quite a group in here this morning so far. We're already 40 people in the room watching our pretty much the opening bell up until 10 o'clock. So it's a good start to a Friday. Let's see now if price action can agree with us so we can have some fun this morning. Yeah, absolutely, CEO. Thanks for reminding everyone. For anyone who's new to the channel or even a returning member to the channel, please hit the like button so YouTube can see our ratio of how many visitors we have compared to how many people actually like the stream, so they can start recommending us to others who search for the same or others who also are subscribed to other trader channels. It does help out quite a bit. It doesn't cost anything. Right. So I'm looking at comparing the three indices, and for whatever reason, the Dow has decided to pull back to its opening bell value. So it's right where it started at 930. Let's see, where did we start at 930? Okay, so the Nasdaq is down at 990. So we would have quite a ways to go to get back to our 930 values, but the Dow has already retraced to it, and it was very near to taking out yesterday's high, but it didn't do it. And so that's interesting development. I want to see why that occurred. S&P has not taken out yesterday's high either. It's pulling back a little bit, although not nearly as much as what's happening on the Dow. So let's look and see if Nasdaq also stutters here and fails to push higher towards this previous day high. Also, everyone, just want to announce that we're in the macro period. So we'll look and see if there's any, I guess, market structure shifts or anything like that during this time period to see if that then takes price in a different direction. Good morning. Good morning. See if I can make this larger so I can read it. Verinder. Good morning. Good morning, Verinder. I'm gonna move down to the minute time frame on the big one on the big screens just to see if there's any shifts in market structure. Right. Is it Janus? Janus? Good morning. Welcome to the channel. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before, but anyway, welcome. If you have any questions or comments or anything that you would like to say, feel free, throw it in the comment. Or throw it in the chat. We're a good group of traders here, and I was just want to send you another welcome. Thanks for being here, and also thanks for not being shy and saying good morning. All right, so we are seeing widespread retracements on all indices. We're also seeing that on the dollar as well as they come in to close out the hour. So we'll see what that means for the start of the 10 o'clock hour. Sweet. Thank you very much. Thank you all who have liked the video so far. Like I said, this is a big help to help the channel grow. So thank you very much. Oh, are you talking about Topstep X platform? I think I've heard of. Yeah, I've definitely heard of it. I entered myself on a wait list as well. I may have actually received an email to switch over. And I'll give it a try. I'll test it. I do like TradingView, but I'm open to change. All right, no need to put in that limit order then. I guess this time it paid to be slow. All right. Anybody got any comments for that? Man, I did not see that coming. Go back to the at least the 5 minutes, maybe the 15 if we have to. All right, so all the key levels below us have been traded to except for the New York low, which I have on my indicator described as the low between 7 and 10 o'clock. So it was made here at 7. Price bought up, retraced not far enough, and continued buying. So that's open. Remember I said I like the midnight, so I want to see how it reacts when it gets to midnight open, as well as the 8:30. So clearly this leg right here, which I had marked up with a Fibonacci measurement, is not the leg that it's retracing off of. Let's go for the full range. And this is starting, this is basically a full range from the the news event. So we've now traded into discount from that leg. past the 61%. The midnight open is just below it. Hmm. That's too big for me. Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. Bear trap. Caveman made 1,000 off of it. Sweet, man. Good job. All right, looks like it's having a reaction off the midnight open. Now let's see if that's sustained or if it was just the initial reaction. I've still got another minute before this candle closes, and then we'll see how the next one opens. All right, while we wait for this reaction to complete, I'm going to quickly run and grab some more coffee. I'll be right back in 1 to 2 minutes. All right, I'm back. Yeah, Adam, I was going to get coffee, and I guess my dog was letting me know that he missed me. Wow. All right, 25 points off of the midnight open price. Let's see, was that a 61% retracement we got? Yep, 61, almost a 70, not quite. I do have the 30-second capability. There, this is what the 30-second looks like. All right, so far this hour we've had the dollar push even lower than it had last hour. So it has a new low for the day. The indices have not followed suit, so they have not pushed up for higher prices yet. Still left to see if that's what they're going to do this hour. As of right now, they're pretty much around their opening value. So for the first 10 minutes, they pretty much started here, traded down, and now it's right back around where it started. Yep. So it started here, at least for Nasdaq at 986. You can see now it's trading back down. So we're right at the start. We'll see if it continues to push upwards, or if the dollar's pushed down for a new low, was short-lived and it was just a sweep of liquidity, and we see the dollar move upwards. But we'll give it a few more minutes to decide what it's going to do. Meanwhile, I'm sure some people were able to catch a long from down here and run it up, and others maybe caught a short from up top and ran it down. To anyone who was in those trades, congratulations on winning. And for those who may not have won their trade, just regroup and get ready for the next setup. Chris, good morning. Where you been? It's been a few days. All right, macro's over, so I'll remove these lines here. Hey, no problem. No problem, Chris. Just giving you a hard time. Sometimes you do need a break away from the charts or just a break in general. But good to have you back. From 98, okay. To the downside, the 1 minute fair value gap. Okay, so you're reaching for these lows. All right. Wow, you got it from 98. That's all right. Well, let me just mark this up for everyone. Chris is saying he entered there. Still want to place your stop here. All right, so you could be looking at a target of 47 points down to, if this was my trade, I'd be looking at exiting at 51. Assuming there's only one contract. If there's multiple contracts, obviously you could hold. But Chris, that was a sweet entry, man. Be honest with you, Chris, I've never seen a strategy work better than 70%. So if you're 70%, consider yourself lucky, consider yourself, or consider this to be the strategy for you, and just work off of it. Perfect it, understand when you shouldn't use it, get really good at the 10 o'clock and get really good at the 2 p.m. And that's all the strategy. You only need one strategy. That's all you need. Good job, Vivian. Excellent. Awesome. And delivered what, 98% of the range here, and then pull back before completing. Yeah, let's see if it wants these lows. Or back to the midnight open, which is at 9:45. But either way, just make sure you have yourself protected just in case it wants to retrace. You can grab the bulk of the move and be able to cash out. Oh, sweet. Sweet, Dustin. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I only took that one trade yesterday before lunch. The one that worked out for me, and afterwards I just, yeah, I was a bit more cautious, and I didn't enter any more trades yesterday. The day before was pretty good for me. So Wednesday, Thursday was a good rebound after Tuesday. But we'll see what today brings. Yep. Oh yeah, that's true. It was during lunch. Well, I took the setup just before we were live. I just didn't. Yeah, we didn't watch it all the way through. All right. Hate to interrupt the program, but I just want to show this one more time. When we look at the dollar and the other indices, as you can see, we have the dollar creating a new low for the day, beating out last hour's low. But then we can see the Dow as well as the S&P all selling this hour so far. They're not selling quite as aggressively as the dollar, but still they're not buying or moving in the opposite direction. So for me right now, price is not synced, or the markets aren't synced, and so I'm not eager to enter. I'm not saying I won't enter, but I am being cautious because of that. But I just wanted to let everybody know that that's what the market's doing now, and that's what I'm taking a look at, and what has me not as interested in price right now. Okay. Seeing if we'll continue to get price pushing downwards. We're on the daily. Basically, we have another doji just like yesterday. So we're at the same price that we closed Wednesday with right now. Essentially, this new day opening gap was the same new day opening gap yesterday. All right, there it is. There's that 1 to 2 for 47 points for anyone who held. And obviously that was entering at the 50% mark of this fair value gap, as opposed to entering at the beginning, which would have been a different type of trade. All right, because you'd have been looking at a stop loss of 33 points. So in order to deliver a profit of 1 to 2, right? It's a lot to ask price to deliver. In fact, if it does deliver, entering so it's about an extra 10 points. So that'll be 77 points if it delivers all the way down. Okay, so we have a new low of today as well. No, I'm sorry. We do not have a new low. We have a new session low. We just took out last hour's low. All right, we're pushing towards the 830 value, 830 open. Yep, it sure is tracking to it. You're right about that, Brad. Hey, Splash, good morning. Welcome. Okay, right. 15-minute fair value gap to the upside. Okay. And that is right around this area. That's anywhere from 940 down to 915. Okay. We want to see if it breaks through this lower area of 921 and a quarter to deliver 67 points on this setup. Or if you took the entry Chris took, which was 10 points into it, there'll be 77 points delivered. Yeah, it's still right at the midnight open now, so it looks like it might be finding some type of support there. We just want to continue to monitor price to see if it does. Oops. Here. Here's our high. We want to make sure price stays above. Oh, I'm sorry, below. We want to make sure it stays below this level here at 983, 983. So if we're going to get lower prices, we don't want to see price above 983 before reaching that level. Yep. 15 minutes. Let's see where we are as far as the measurement goes. All right, so we tapped just into the sweet spot here at 71%, just a couple candles ago. They go down to the lower time frame again. Actually, this goes here. $15-minute BISI. All right, Ray. I dropped this trend line as well. It's not really serving a purpose. $78 retracement on this small leg here. Thank you much. Appreciate it. All right, everyone. We're halfway through the session now. It's 10:30. See price still stalling here, but we did see the rejection here at the midnight open, just like we saw previously. At 10 o'clock, we saw it push higher for about 50 points or so, just little bit more. And then it retraced even deeper. But we did see a rejection, and it's finding support at the midnight open. And so far, price is not really showing a willingness to go higher, but also not showing a willingness to go lower. So we'll continue to be patient and let the market tip his hand, and then once it does, then we'll act accordingly. But at the moment, we do still have, on the hourly basis, we still have bearish candles for all three indices, and we have a bearish candle for the dollar. All right, my favorite. Remember these things? All right, so we broke out to the upside first. Okay. All right, DV trades. You believe it's going to take out the lower low, all right? From 659. All right, sir, let's take a peek. 649. Oh, wow. Okay, so you're taking the entire leg. You're going from the lowest low of today. It looks like there's a 61% to the tick almost. 935. This candle's low. 935 and a quarter. So it's 1/4 away from 61.8%. It could, yeah. See if you want to have that one. That's a almost 20-point stop loss, 40-point take profit. Hey, Zach, good morning. Welcome back. So far we had a sell-off. Yes, it was a sell-off just after the opening bell, really at 10 o'clock. So just before the opening bell, we saw it buy up, and then it consolidated for a little bit, and then it sold down after the opening bell. And so now we're just in this consolidation period, looking to see if we're going to get a buy up now. So I took a long here, a little deeper into the zone. I was hoping to get it a little lower than I actually got it, but we'll see if this worked out for us. Got a stop loss of about 15 points, it looks like. Oh, John, welcome. Good morning. Welcome back. All is one. Welcome back. All right, I abandoned that trade, and wow, lucky me. I got out just in time, but yeah, it wasn't looking good. Plus, I continued to see lower prices on the close. Yeah, I was hoping it would return back to my original value so I could get a break even, but that wasn't happening. So I just took the 10-point loss, and it's fine. All right, let's go back to the original trade and see if it does seek out these lower values down. So that original trade turns into a 1 to 2. The reason why I have this area marked here is because this is the high that made the last low, right? And since this low has not been broken, this high has not been reset to any of the ones down. So this is the high that would change market structure. And so we're still bearish. We haven't switched back to bullish yet. So that was a slightly risky entry to take. Ideally, what we would like to see is for this low to be swept. So then this high over here becomes the key high. And then when you see impulse push up past this high, then you look for that long, which would be a more secure long. The one we took was definitely a more risky setup. And so had a lower probability, and we just saw what happened. All right, back to the opening day gap. I know it's hard to see here, this yellow area. the new day opening gap, and it's really small. It's only 2 ticks. Oops, let me get these off. All right, let's see if it continues pushing lower and take out the low from 2 or 3 candles ago. If it can sweep that low, then up next would be the midnight open, which it's gotten a bullish bounce from multiple times in the last hour. So we'll see if it can go below the midnight open, which is that dash purple line. It's just past it now. See if we can get a closure below. Sweeping the low here and completing this 1 to 2 trade. All right, who said it might sweep the low last time? Okay, DB Trades. Yeah, DB Trades said it might sweep the low. We're coming right into there now. So now we have relative equal lows. Again, it could not close below this midnight open. It's now had another bullish bounce. So let's continue to watch price and see how it responds. Yeah, the dollar is pushing back towards the low from the 9 o'clock hour. You're right, it is pushing towards that. Yeah, based on what I'm seeing now, we may actually have price sit in this range until the end of the hour. So we have another 15 minutes or so. And doing that, I'm going to run, get my final cup of coffee this morning. I should be back before the macro, well before the macro. It shouldn't take me more than like 2 minutes. I was going to come in earlier, but had to go and make breakfast for the kids. Seems the fair value got 50% of the 5-minute chart, may be in a position for a long. In the 5-minute, 50%, which is roughly where the low was. Well, we definitely got a nice little bounce from 35 up to 70. So it just gave 35 points just that quickly. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back. All right. Hmm. 4 hour candle low, 870-ish, that range. Oh, the Fed is speaking. Is that happening again? Let's go back to the low impact news. Okay, there's nothing. Let's go to, I guess, no impact. I don't see anything. All right, so there's nothing that they've published about the Fed speaking. They might be speaking, but nothing was published. All right, so that low was swept. Let's continue stretching this out and see if we can't get down to this 920 level. Go to a lower time frame just so we can see more of the candle movements. There we go. A new low put in. We're just a handful of points away. Let me mark up the macro period. We are in the macro now. All right, there it is. Delivering a 1-to-2 trade from that original fair value gap. Yeah, I thought my dog would behave and be a part of the stream just like the rest of us, but apparently he wants all my attention, so I had to send him out. All right, let's carry on with the stream. So, Chris, that early entry you had at 998 is now run down and completed its 1-to-2 trade. The entry was actually at 888, delivering at 21. So I'll move this out of the way so we can more easily see price action. Yep. But at the most aggressive entry, it delivered 67 handles, and a bit more conservatively, you could have gotten anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 more than that. So that is actually our silver bullet from this morning, was entering the fair value gap and selling out. The silver bullet target actually was the low hanging fruit, which is generally a recent low or high, which was this one. So it would have been about a 40-point gain, which I think the way I had it set up, it would have been nearly a 1-to-1, but let me line it up again with a, this is, sorry. Okay. So that would have been your stop. This would have been your target. So it would have been a 1.1 to 1.3 would have been the trade for the silver bullet. The 1 to 2 trade, that's my style. That's how I like to back test. So when I back test entries from fair value gaps, I found that 1 to 2 works a lot. So that's why I like 1 to 2. But for the silver bullet, the actual exit would have been at a swing point. So it would have been once it reached here, you would have ended your trade at 10:19 after entering at 10:07. So it would have been about a 12-minute trade. But if you held all the way to the bottom, obviously, you didn't get out until 10:50. So it would have been about a 40-minute trade. Oh, Fauci, sorry about that, man. Yep. Yeah, that wasn't my trade. That was Chris. Chris, good job recognizing that and jumping in. Yep. So now we have finally reached a retracement of 70.8%. Previously, it was 61.8. See if there's a better entry down here somewhere. Nah. No, still these fair value gaps have large values, but that's created from the 8:30 movement this morning, from the news that was announced, and the big impulse move up, which is why the fair value gaps are so big. All right, we also have created equal lows here. Let's see if that becomes the next target and it pushes even lower. At 17 and not 17.50. Oops. Yeah, if you're saying why take this one and not this one, you take this one just because it was, let me show you. All right. So this was your move down, right? Now it's retracing. So when it's retracing, what you want to do is you want to take anything above the 50%, which would be your premium pricing, to then send price lower. So anything above here is fair game. So this was your first fair value gap above the 50% in premium pricing. This was your second one. This was your third one. So yes, you could have waited for this one, but then this wouldn't have been your trade. You would have missed it. So the reason to take this one, the first one above the 50%, is it's an aggressive entry, but it ensures you have an entry. And when in doing so, especially the way I like to do it is when I put my stop loss above the next candle, especially when you have consecutive fair value gaps created by each candle. If I put it above this second candle wick, then my stop loss is above this fair value gap. So even if it trades to it and then back down, I'm still in the trade and I didn't get stopped out. It would need to trade through this candle and above to this fair value gap. And in that case, this is not a breakout gap and I'm expecting higher prices by now. And so by taking me out of the trade, it also invalidates the whole setup. So in this case, this was the proper fair value gap to use. It's going to be a lot to process in the middle, like when candles are printing and you're having to decide which one do I use. But that would have been the logic to use for that one. Yep. Fred, let me know if that made sense or if you need me to continue and explain it differently. All right, retesting the midnight open, but from the other side this time. Let's see what price wants to do here. I'm looking for it to sweep these lows at some point soon, so I'm not expecting it to go too much higher. I want to see it break down further. Yeah, definitely opposite. I've had a couple questions about that, Bills. And honestly, I started out with red and black. So the red candles were down because I'm coming from finance and accounting world. So to me, red was down and black was up based on positive and negative numbers in accounting. And then I got rid of the red and just said, let me just use black and white. So the black just stayed where it was and the white replaced the red. So that's kind of how that came about. Um, but I agree, yes, it's opposite to most people. But I promise if you come around often enough, you'll get used to it. Yep. Yeah, Fred, I actually didn't take that trade. I just had the short tool up to show what the trade would look like from entry until exit. But that was, no, I didn't take that trade. I actually took a trade in the opposite direction, which got stopped out. But one of the subscribers, CK, had mentioned that he was in that trade from the top at 998, I believe. And so that's why we started looking at it. All right, are we going to get any? Hmm. Okay, another retest of midnight open. And we have a small bearish fair value gap just above. We'll see if candle can break through and close above that. Right back at the daily opening value. So we've already seen a 50-point recovery since these equal lows down here. Right, just like I marked up equal lows at the bottom, we also have equal highs at the top here. DXY. Oh, no problem. No problem. Anytime. All right, guys, we have 1 hour left. We have 1 hour left. Anyone who's hesitant about hitting the like button, go ahead and do so now. We got an hour left. See if we can get a few more traders in here for this final hour. See if price action will agree with us and we're able to take a position. And if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the live stream, also consider subscribing so you get invites to all future live streams and reminders 30 minutes before. All right, the same level. We're back at it. It's the midnight open. Yep. And I jump up to the 5 minute just for a moment here. More like it. All right, I think it's more interesting to be on a lower time frame now. Now that we see some impulsive action happening. All right, we have a closure above the new day opening gap now. We have a closure above the midnight open. Two more minutes inside of this macro time. So let's see how price finishes up the next minute and a half. All right, looks like it gave two entries on this bullish leg. We got a fair value gap entry down at the beginning at 10:57. And then we had another one at the midnight open, right at 11:05. We had a retracement down, fair value gap, midnight open splitting it, close above, even though it pierced through, closed above. The next candles opened above, and we've now had 4 consecutive bullish candles. Okay, I see what you're saying, Ray. All right. All right, so the macro ended and we did not have a change of structure in that time. That's usually one of the triggers we look for if we get a market structure shift or something during the macro period, and we'll look for an entry immediately afterwards. But we didn't get that. Without that confirmation, I'm not overly optimistic about entering now. Some people did enter either here or in here earlier, and congrats to them for being in at a good position for a long and securing some gains, or at least being in a favorable position. But for what I'm looking for, I would have hoped that we would have gotten a market structure shift during that time, and we didn't. You can see where we are on the other indices in the dollar. Okay, Nasdaq. Nasdaq is out front again. They're all bullish, but Nasdaq is leading the pack. I'm getting closer and closer to the highs of last hour, much closer than the other indices. Let's say the S&P is right behind, but then the Dow is pretty has a lot of momentum, has a lot that it needs to gain in order to catch up. So yeah, the Dow is trailing behind significantly. The dollar is at its opening range for this hour, so it hasn't made any progress. And we'll want to see it start pushing downwards, which it did at the beginning of the hour, but it made a full recovery. And now we see the dollar pushing up slightly for the hour. So I'm not liking how they're all synced up right now. I want to see them break up a bit. I want to see the Dow catch up, and I want to see the dollar start moving the opposite direction. So for now, I'm going to continue just to monitor the different prices, different indices to see when they sync up again. But until then, I'm not really looking for an entry here. But it looks like this equal highs here are in play, and we may see that liquidity taken in just a few minutes, if not sooner. Right, there it is. Now we have that market structure shift official. Let me remove this. We now officially have a price leg substantial enough to now turn price back bullish on this time frame on the 1 minute. All right, let's look at the 5 minute, and we have the exact same thing. So we had a new low put in here, made this the key high. That's now been taken. So now we've switched back to being bullish. All right, that should give anyone who entered along a bit more confidence there. All right, so we've taken that target. Let me go ahead and line up the next one as far as what you may see as the next pool of liquidity to be taken. So that's about 15 points away. $17,006 is also the high of the 10 o'clock hour. second one. This is the markup of the third one for anyone who entered here in this area. A 1 to 2 trade will deliver you 30 points, assuming it can get up here to 17,001. Now see price approaching the entry of that last fair value gap that provided an entry for some. So far, it's already delivered around 25 points to anyone who entered that trade at the fair value gap. So I hope you were able to grab partials, or you feel confident that price is still going to go higher. Anis, hey, good morning. You say a 5-minute busy. Hmm. Yeah, it's essentially this right around the same entry as the 1 minute, but we'll see. Still have another 2.5 minutes on this 5-minute candle. Oh wow, Anis, that's awesome, man. So you took a short from here. Yeah, Chris also took that trade. We were looking at that for the last hour. It took quite a while to deliver a 1 to 2 on that one, but it eventually did deliver. But yeah, we watched that one for most of the last hour. I tried to, in the middle of all that, when price was stalling, I tried to take a long, probably somewhere in this area. I can't remember exactly what time it was, but that didn't. I had to abandon that trade because it wasn't looking good. So I ended up taking a 10-point loss on that. All right, looks like coming back down to the entry on the 5-minute as well as the 1-minute fair value gap. Okay, all right, so you want this fair value gap that so far has not been retested. All right, let's see. It's not a bad level at all. Trading inside of this would get a retest of this high that was traded above. Generally, when you see highs like that traded above, you want to see it go up, come back down, retest that level, and then continue on. All right, this same trade is up 10 points again. But let's measure this leg up and just see where we are. Okay, we haven't even made it to 38% yet. Hmm. Right back into the fair value gap. The last time was about 10 minutes ago. We saw two candles in there, close in there, but get rejected out back to entry. And now we're retesting that previous high that was made. Remember, this was the equal highs that was taken out, and we got a retracement back down, and now we're back at that level trying to push through. Ultimately trying to get to 17,006, which is the high of the 10 o'clock hour. Also, I guess could be high of the, well, not really the morning session, because the morning session would start at 9:30. And so those highs are at 17,042. Um, and so that would be our target next, assuming we can get to 17,006. Okay, still retesting at previous level. Haven't broke through yet, but let me delete this line just so it's not in the way. I still have the long tool here because I want to see if it delivers a 1 to 2 on the entry from this fair value gap. Oh, Chris, got past your 150. Sweet, man. Awesome. That was a nice trade you put together on that sell. We're getting really close at half past the hour, and yeah, it looks like price is consolidating at the moment. We're still looking for a push above this hour's high into last hour's high at 17,006. But at the moment, the fair value gap that we're currently in seems to have suspended price and now is rejecting it back downwards. So we'll see if it finds support in one of these fair value gaps here and then continues to push higher. Meantime, let me just move this over a bit so it's not over the current price. And if it becomes relevant again, I'll stretch it. Okay. Looks like potentially there's some support there. Let's see how this candle closes. Oh, thank you, David. And good to have you in the room. Thanks for joining the channel. Hope to see and hear from you more in the future. All right, we do have some form of alignment now where all the indices are buying, and we finally have the dollar pushing lower. Let's see if price starts to loosen up now because of that. Right. Last candle got almost back to the entry point, and now it's starting to show us some momentum to the upside. We want to pay attention to how this one closes. And if you look at those wicks, they seem to be making a trend line. So that's not good. We want to see if the next one of the next few candles can break that trend so it doesn't look so neat and straight. And I'm speaking about these here. Right? We don't want price to continue to do that. We want it to break through. All right, that was decent, not great. We want to see it push through even further than that, so it's clear that that trend is not a trend. Otherwise, higher prices are going to be difficult to come by. Mm-mm. All right, so we had one grouping here, and then we saw it fail. We saw a second attempt here and fail. Third attempt and fail. Now we're at the fourth attempt. That so far has also failed. All right, the level we're at now is the candle bodies from yesterday's opening range at 9:30. There was a big push up on a candle, but it's only a wick. The candle bodies themselves were right down here at the 990, 988 level. And so that's where we are now. Let me get rid of this Fibonacci. We don't need that any longer. All right, back at opening prices again. Back in the same fair value gap. We'll see if it wants to hold it like the previous two attempts. or if it will fail because we never saw price break above this downwards price movement. Maybe we'll give Brad his entry he's looking for down at 964. And let's go up time frames now. Let's go up to the 5-minute. Just want to measure. Oops. Sorry, wrong one. There we go. All right, now in discount, approaching 62%. Let's drop back down to the 1 minute. Ouch. Long tool gone. It never produced a 1 to 2. All right, so the first two fair value gaps going up produced a 1 to 2. The last one only delivered from 70 and got you as far as 996. So it got you a little over 25 points, but it didn't deliver the whole amount. But let me go ahead and delete this. All right, so we have approached and passed 72%. And we have also eclipsed 78.6%. We now see all indices pushing towards last hour's low. The dollar has already eclipsed last hour's high and is pushing towards the hour before. Yep, so a complete about face for the entire market, all indices and the dollar. All right, let's see if we get a sweep of these lows. Remember, we got a sweep of the highs first, taking liquidity. Now potentially it's going for liquidity on the downside. But so far we've gotten a retracement and tapped back into that original fair value gap that started the up movement. And it's so far showing a pretty bullish reaction to it. But we need to first make sure it gets through the midnight open. Okay, it's through the midnight open now. Let's see if it closes above. Yeah, you're right. It's crazy, Brad, how quickly that can happen. All right, everyone, 20 minutes left in the session, 20 minutes. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, we'll move this out of the way. Midnight open here at 9:45. Right now, it looks like price is not able to close above it. So if it's unable to do that, I'm looking for it to push below these lows. I'm not sure if it's going to continue going lower, but I'm looking for it to push below these lows. And potentially we have the 8:30 open down here at 9:07. So that might be a point that it wants to retest. All right, another retest of the midnight open. Hmm. No, I've never traded any of those natural resources there, but I do know some others who like crude. I've never heard anyone talk about natural gas, but I have heard several people talk about crude. But I've never done it. I try to stick to indices. Yeah, I've had ES, NQ, but also the Dow as well. The Dow moves little too fast now that I think about it. But that's where I cut my teeth and started out there. But then I found I went from the Dow to ES and then settled in the middle at NQ. Hmm. All right, again another failure at the midnight open. So we had it push through, but for whatever reason, it could not close above. And then we see an opening and now a crash in price. And let's see if that's short lived or if it can continue. If it continues, again, we're looking for a sweep of these equal lows from 1053, 1054. Okay. Right. One thing to note here is we keep getting higher lows on the candle bodies. Okay, we finally got a close above. Let's see what this follow-up candle brings us. All right, let's somewhere in here, like price has to break out. It can't continue forever. It'll run out of real estate. Yeah, I'm not really sure what 913 is going to bring. I think it's going to hit it, but I don't know if it's going to tap it as a liquidity sweep and then race back upwards, or if it's going to hit it and in the afternoon we're just going to be running for lower prices and finish the weekly candle somewhere in the middle. Because I checked the weekly candle and we just eclipsed the high of last week, yesterday. So the high of yesterday eclipsed last week's high, and now yeah, I don't know what the objective for the week is any longer. Because obviously in the beginning of the week, that's the objective, is to eclipse the previous week's high to continue the bullish trend. And that was done yesterday. So now, I don't know if it's just wanting to fill in some of those gaps, because last week we did have a lot of bearish momentum. We had four consecutive bearish days. And then Friday was kind of, you know, a dud really. Um, but we had so many consecutive bearish days. There's probably a lot of gaps that it needs to fill in, and maybe that's what it's doing now. But the weekly objective was met yesterday. All right, macro period. We're in the macro now. Price is still trending the way it has been the last 15 minutes. We're just waiting for it to break out of here. Either give us a sharp incline or decline, one of the two. I'm going to vote for it to go lower just because we have trendline liquidity being set up. And it can go and sweep all of them in one candle. Okay, we're getting close to the end of our session, a little less than 10 minutes. So would like to open the floor to any final questions and comments. Just want to make sure we get those covered before our session ends. I know we have a lot of new people, and you may be a little shy when asking questions, or feel like maybe your question isn't advanced enough. But don't be shy. If you have a question, let's see if we can't get that answered for you. All right, here we go. Big push down, as I was hoping that we would start sweeping all of these lows as they were created, creating false confidence. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of stuck right here in between the BISI and the SIBI, just sitting right there. Yeah, Ray, it may be setting us up for some good afternoon activity. Just want to pause right now. All right, caveman. I appreciate you attending as well. Thank you for that. Yep, 6 minutes, final 6 minutes. Any final questions or comments? Everyone, don't forget, Monday is a U.S. holiday, so the market will be closed in the afternoon. The morning session is still open based on London being open, but just remember there's going to be low volume, so set your expectations there. Um, I wasn't planning to be on the charts, but I can be persuaded to do so if you guys are interested in trading a low volume Monday morning market. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm not on the East Coast, so it's not technically lunch for me. It's right now it's 10 o'clock in the morning for me, so I'm 2 hours behind. But no, I generally break just because it's lunchtime on the market. Um, but I guess I could. I mean, it gives me a break because I do the afternoon session as well, so I'm doing 6 hours of live streaming. So that 1 hour break is good for me. Uh, but I see what you're saying, Vivian. There's no one covering the lunch session, and so that could be a good time to I guess live stream and maybe recruit a few more traders into our room. So I'll consider that. But I do like taking the break there. Let me get rid of these lines. They're in the way now. We don't need them. We don't need these either. We know we're in the middle of the macro. Just want to make it as clean as I can. The new day opening gaps not also not necessary at this time. All right. So now we have a new low um, from this hour. Still targeting the low from last hour. Oh, so when I say macro, I mean the price delivery system, the algorithm is running a macro during this time period. And so usually when you see price stalling during the macro period is when you'll see it move and move towards some place of liquidity. Like this is our liquidity area here. So between 1150 and 1210, we expect for liquidity to be taken and then price to then set up for the next hour. So for instance, if we see liquidity taken during macro, what I'm going to look for after that is done, I'm going to look for either a break lower, creating a fair value gap, or a break higher above here with a fair value gap. Right? Because even if, so Brad, if we take a look at the last macro at 1050 to 1110, so it's a 20-minute period, the last 10 minutes of 1 hour and the first 10 minutes of the following, we'll see what happened here. We had our low broken, this low at 16,935 was broken the minute before at 1049. Then we saw it continue to break down, create a fair value gap, and the next hour was a bullish hour. Right. I'm still learning what the macro periods do and that kind of thing. So you'll continue to hear me talk about it, and you'll continue to see me take setups out of it. If you're looking for information, the person that I'm learning from on YouTube about macros is a trader called Hydra. He has some really good videos on that. Oh, Cupertino, right there. I didn't even see your question, but there you go. Oh, sorry, Vivian. Yeah, so I was just saying that during the macro period is when we look for there to be some liquidity taken and for price to then reposition itself for the next hour's trade. And so this was the last macro where we saw it put in these equal lows and we saw it race for liquidity here. It raced for those highs during the next hour. Once it did that, price stalled. And now we're racing for liquidity here. And oddly enough, I think we just might get it during the macro period. Yep. So I was explaining, I think that was Brad's question. I was explaining that I'm still learning what macros do to the market and how to trade with them. And so Hydra is the YouTube channel that I've been following on. He has a lot of videos on macros and taking entries out of macros and what to look for. And so I'm still practicing. And so far it's worked out quite well. So what I like to do is I like to find during a macro period, I want to see a liquidity sweep. And if I can, I like to get a breaker created during that time as well. And if I can get those two things, then I'm looking for an entry. Oh, okay, he's on X as well. Okay, got it. Yeah, he breaks it down where he has actually 3 macro periods. So he'll do the 1050 to 1210, but then in the center between 20 and 40, he'll have another macro. And that's why you see a lot of reversals happening in the middle of the hour. So you'll see a lot of 1030 reversals, and he uses that as his sort of 1020 to 1040 macro. And it's very interesting to watch how he explains the market and how he's looking for price to react. And if things happen outside of the time periods he's looking for, he just disregards it. He doesn't take an entry. He doesn't care if he see 10 fair value gaps with a breaker on top and all kinds of confluences. If he doesn't see it in the time period he's looking for, then he doesn't take a trade. So it goes back to the old narrative of time and price, with time being the most important thing and then price being secondary for trading. Yep. Excellent. Great. I'm glad that you guys are getting value from this. It's a lot to learn. And that's why I tell people, I said, find something that really speaks to you, that you really love and like. Master that entry model, Have two or three in your arsenal, and I mean that's really all you really need. Be really good at those. Um, find out which times they work best. Look for those on a daily basis. When you find them, take them. If you find something that looks good but it's not exactly what you like, or it's not exactly the time that you want, don't have FOMO. Be okay with letting them go. Increase your strike rate, gain more confidence, become a better trader. Yep. Well, stay locked into the channel. We'll help each other become more disciplined. I try not to have FOMO, although sometimes I do. You'll see me enter a trade 10 minutes after I just said I didn't like that price level. So it happens. I'm getting better as well. What makes time number one? That's a great question. I've just listened to people who have been doing this a lot longer than I have, and that's what they say. Caveman, most of my learning has come from ICT. That's where majority of it's come from. And then a lot of his students have made supplementary material to explain ICT concepts. And so I follow some of them as well. And Hydra's one of those. Hydra's one of them that I follow. T Trades is another that I follow. I follow Camming Capital. I follow Dane Trades. All of these are former ICT students who explain some of his concepts. All right, Vivian, take care. Oh yeah, everyone, we are past time. Thank you all for joining. I hope you found value again today. For all newcomers, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you continue to be invited to all of our live streams for the AM and PM session. All returners, thank you so much for the support. I couldn't have done this without you. Hope to continue to see you join the channel. And yeah, let's get this together. Let's make 2024 the best trading year ever. And I'll see you all in about 55 minutes. So take care. Cheers, everyone.